Get things rolling so we're on schedule. Okay, you guys hear me good? Testing. Good? Okay. All right, we're up and rolling. So just want to welcome you guys out. We're on the How I Implement the 5 Principles of Soil and Health. Cameron Williams will be our speaker. Just a quick little background, his bio on him. Cameron Williams ranches with his father in Grace, Idaho. The ranch has been in the family since 1904. He obtained an associate degree in agronomy from Rick's College and bachelor's degree in ag economics from University of Idaho. He currently is working on growing cover crops to improve the soil health, extend the growing season, and decrease days of feeding harvested forages. He has tried growing at least 40 different species of crops with mixes up to 14 species. So now we'll turn the time over to Cameron, let him do his little presentation.
I am not comfortable speaking, so you're going to have to bear with me. So, this is a great sized group. I don't know why anybody had asked me to come talk. So I hope for a lot of interaction. If I say something that doesn't make sense, or you got questions, or you want more information, except for my cousin, you're allowed to ask it. So I have to come 7 hours to see my cousin, so that's pretty pathetic. So like was said, I'm from Grace, Idaho. For those of you who don't know where that is, it's an hour north of Logan. It's 15 minutes to Lava Hot Springs and about a half hour from Bear Lake. So if you don't know where any of those places are, that's all right, because we have enough tourists. So, did that stay? Yeah, when did? Presentation mode. So Grace, Idaho. Yay. So we're about a mile high, about 5280. 12 to 14 inch precip zone, 80 to 100 day frost-free period. So for everyone complaining about too much heat units, I don't have too many heat units. So, what else about Grace, Idaho? It's a great place to live. Lots of winter. As we drove down yesterday, we started in snow and it got warmer and nicer the farther we got from home. So, page down or in. So, my father and I together, we're Rolling Pin Ranch. Like I said, I have an associate's in agronomy, a bachelor's in ag business, my wife and 4 children. And then my dad, he ran the grain elevator for 25 years, and then he took the farm over from his dad. He is ready for retirement. I have a job in town. I work full-time. One day I was asking him what his succession plan was, and he said he was going to work harder, or he was going to work less and less, and I was going to work more and more. So that's the plan. He probably shakes his head a lot of times with the ideas I come home with. So. And I have 3 brothers and a sister, and my dad sent this to me at work one day and said, someday this will all be yours, and I'm the only one foolish enough to live the dream. So Rolling Pin Ranch, we operate as an LLC. The LLC owns the livestock, is the operating entity, and then individually we own the land separate. And we set that up as a way to transition from my folks to my wife and I. We run about 320 mother cows, 50, 60 replacement heifers, a dozen horses at least. We graze on state land for summer grazing, and then we're on the home place about 7 months a year, 618 acres. 300 of that's irrigated. So, like I said, I got some wild ideas that probably cause my dad some stress occasionally. One of those is that 32 degrees isn't the end of the growing season. We always think 32, frost, you're done. But 28 and a half is a killing frost, so I've extended my growing season another 20, 30 days if I can grow things that will adapt to that. If I can grow things that will go down to 20 degrees, I have 80 to 120 days. So then, I don't love farming. When Jimmy talked about driving a brand new tractor, that doesn't excite me one bit. Riding a really good saddle horse, that would do it for me. So, then the one goal is let the cows harvest the feed as much as possible. We have a lot of winter, so I don't know that grazing year-round is practical, but we're working at both ends of that. So I ran across this greeting card one day, and you got my dad and I sitting there on the fence visiting, and we got the neighbors looking over at what we're doing, wondering what on earth are these guys thinking? Or they're waiting for us to struggle, stumble, so they can take over. Like Jimmy talked about, this path of soil health, it's pretty tough to go alone. You got to have a team. You got to have people that will help you along the way. Grace Valley raises an awful lot of seed potatoes, which is a very high value commodity, so land is in high demand. So we have to be competitive with that. So historically, prior to 2009, we were 5 to 7 years of alfalfa, and then we'd raise feed barley for 2 to 3 years just to rotate out the alfalfa. We were running about 250 mother cows then. Since then, I kind of got more involved. I enjoy the cows, so we've increased the cow herd, quit raising feed barley, and converted over to small grains that will cut for hay in that rotation. So in 2013, I added cover crops to that. For me, that's a really good fit. You cut your small grain hay or your three-way. You got growing season left. And if you have some water left, then it sets you up to grow a cover crop. Works for good winter grazing, fall grazing. So 2013 to 17, we incorporated cover crops. 2017, I tried grazing corn, which I'd wanted to try for several years after reading about places they were doing that. And 2017 also started into actually no-tilling quite a bit. Then 2018, we went to some full season cover crops, no-till alfalfa planting. So kind of my slide's kind of historically how we've gone through this process. So talked about the 5 principles of soil health. These are in my mind in everything we do. They're kind of incorporated. I was going to change my slideshow a little, but I couldn't define each element into these principles. So to kind of give you an idea, the blue line is the daily low soil temp or low air temperature for Grace, Idaho. So you can see how short our growing season is. Historically, these were the crops we were growing: alfalfa, spring grain, small grain hay, or winter triticale. So that's the amount of growing degree days we were using. They're graphed based on what the killing temperature of those are. So you can see I was missing some opportunities to grow things. With adding cover crops and changing the species we're growing. That doesn't display right on the computers. Yeah, it's a little bit. So this shows kind of what we've incorporated: some full season cover crops, fall cover crops we can overwinter and then go into a different crop after that. Grazing corn, you can see I pushed both edges of the frost limit on that. The third year I tried it, I frosted it hard mid-June. Frosted and hailed on it in the same week. So kind of some pictures, small grain hay. I think a lot of you probably are grazing some small grains and cutting them for hay. It's probably not a new idea here. This is Arvika peas and barley, beardless barley, Levina. You might also be using triticale, oats. Here's some black oats and Berseem clover. We grew this last year. So like I said, in 2013, I tried my first cover crop. This is how I did it. It's a 610 International drill. It's quite a bit older than I am, probably quite a bit older than most of you in this room. And a brilliant packer. Just cut the small grain hay, baled it off, run the packer with the teeth in, and planted the crop, turn the water on. Was it true no-till? No. Was it perfect? No. Was it what I had? Did it work? It worked pretty good. Turn the water on, you get something that looks like that. Pretty diverse mix. It was the first year. I was still learning. One thing that really struggled with was drill calibration and figuring out a mix of 8 or 10 species, how to calibrate. So this is how I do it. This is from Kentucky, and this is all based on grams. So your opener spacing, the rate you want, and then your catch out of each opener. It's the best way I've found to calibrate. So here's like the third year, 2015. We did some clipping on this, and the yield range from 5,700 pounds to 13,000 pounds per acre. So the other thing you see there's some corn. One thing I really struggle with is warm season grasses. I'm toasting those in July every year. Late July we'll get a frost 32 and they're done. And that's been a real struggle to find something warm season wise that will make tonnage that can take any cold weather. So if anybody's got any suggestions, I'd sure take it. So, like I've had better luck with corn in cold weather than Sudan or sorghum. So since I have no network team to rely on in Grace, because no one thinks this is a good idea, I have some questions for you. We have a lot of wisdom here, I'm sure. How many of you are growing row crops spraying Roundup? Raise of hands. What are you using for a burn down? Are you full tillage? Roundup? Are you using Roundup or a generic? What rate? A quart and a half? How much water are you running, Brian? I ought to pick on you. 10? Aren't you Brian? Yoda, that's what you're... What's that? Oh, Yoda? He is Yoda. So, Jimmy talked about Rick Bieber. We heard Rick Bieber, and he said Roundup doesn't like water. The lower water you can run, the better off you are spraying Roundup. Which my chemical guy, they like to run 20 gallons of water with Roundup and weren't getting a very effective kill. So, and that's something I learned. Took a few years to figure it out. The less water you can run with a surfactant or AMS. What are our alternatives to Roundup, though? Gramoxone. Is it safer than Roundup? Can you get Gramoxone this year? Have you used it much? Have you had success with it? Like, I really want to know about Gramoxone because the grazing corn I've been growing, they say that's what their suggestion is to burn your alfalfa with Gramoxone and plant corn into it, and then you get it all back. It sets it back enough the corn will take off. So that's something I've wanted to try is Gramoxone, but I'm not. So then the other thing that I like doing after a couple of years of trying to spray my Roundup after I drill, go in and drill and then spray a day or two later. That way I get a longer kill window before I get stuff coming back. And I've had really good luck with that. The one year we planted some cover crops, and I'll show some pictures. We drilled on Friday. On Monday, they finally come to spray it, and I had stuff out of the ground. And so I toasted my brassicas because they didn't show up when they said they would. So this is a picture of that. We planted in here on Friday, and by Monday, stuff was out of the ground. So it's a risk you take, but it also gives you a better kill window. So this is just an example of one of my cover crop mixes. 50 pounds to the acre, cost me $38. That's quite a bit for me to spend on seed. I don't like to spend that much, but I wanted to try some of the species. That's what it looked like the end of August. You can see sunflowers, you see the corn. This crop actually turned off really pretty. The sunflowers flowered and people stopped to take pictures in it. So then another thing, legume nodulation. This is free nitrogen. We're missing the boat by not taking advantage of it. Picture on the left, right, is Faba Beans. So you can see those great big nodules on it. That's a huge nitrogen fixer. And then peas on the right. I try to. I don't do a very good job. Just put the powder in the drill boxes. I'm always in a hurry. Like, it isn't perfect, but I try and put it in. Yeah, mine's a box drill, so I hand stir it. Yeah. So winter pea, like when I had this mix, the same year I played with winter peas and spring peas, and I've had a lot better luck with spring peas for tonnage. Like, I won't mess with winter peas because I want a clean crop the next year, so I'm always planting spring peas. Besides that, for forage yield, they'll way out yield a winter pea planted in the summer. Faba beans, I've just really liked growing them. They're a nitrogen fixer. I grew them with corn for stockpile corn one year. They just really have my curiosity up. Mostly is why the Faba beans are in there. They're not legal in Idaho, so I can talk about them in Utah. Berseem clover. Yeah, the bean laws in Idaho really restrict what we can legally grow. Berseem clover, I've had lots better luck with that clover than any other one to compete for height. Like crimson clover, I can't get beyond that tall. It shades out, spindly, short. I'm just not satisfied. So Berseem, I've had really good luck with competing for canopy. Black oats, long growing season, they'll stay vegetative. Like if you can graze a black oat a couple of times, at least the Cossack black oats, they'll stay vegetative and really high quality. That's why they're there. Grazing corn, millet, Sudan, trying to make tonnage, but I'm not having success with that. Oats will stay vegetative a long time and take cold weather. African cabbage, rape, collards, the brassica family maintains really high feed quality. Will stay green down to like 10 degrees. Really cold tolerant. But cows will get really washy if they're straight, if that's all they got to eat. So you need some roughage with them. And odor can be a problem with the brassicas when your cows are grazing. Like if you're in a subdivision, you'd want to be really careful. They complain about odor. And then sunflowers, good taproot on those. The heads, good oil content. Cows will eat the heads off of them, even dried down. And then the baldy safflower, same thing. It's an oilseed crop. It's a spineless safflower, so they'll eat the whole plant. Why your face on the safflower? So this Baldy's a completely spineless variety. Let's see. So that chart I showed, it's by grams of seed that come through the opener. All the seeds combined. No, not at all. I haven't had any trouble like that. That mix was after I cut grain hay, so like July 1st. Yeah, these are the pictures of grazing it. That's the picture of grazing that crop. So we pull cows off the range like Halloween time, and we'll go to these cover crops. One thing I haven't done very well is manage my grazing to maximize utilization. I work a job, days are short by then. I'm okay wasting some feed because I can't control how much I'm wasting, but if they walk through it all, they're going to waste it or put it back in the soil. So I'm okay wasting it, putting it back, but I could really maximize my utilization if I strip grazed it tighter. So next question. How many of you are no-tilling? When you converted over to no-tilling, did you change your seeding rates at all? You didn't change at all? You bumped yours up. How much did you go up? So you went from like what, 100 to 120? Oh, so like 60 to 80?
Yeah, so it was kind of interesting. It was a big learning for us because it just, we had always heard like when you go to the plant, you want to up your rate the first year, and then you kept it the same as you always have. But it seemed like you could go, yeah, you could go 80 pounds if you want. I don't know where the seed goes, to be honest with you, but we had to go up a little bit with it.
Do you have a comment on that? You didn't change your seed rates at all when you went to no-till? Are you irrigated or dry land? What were you at? What rate were you at before? So you were pretty high before and stayed about there. So I probably pushed my rates up 20%. And emergence is a lot slower. That's the thing that kills me is how much slower it comes out of the ground. But I may have colder soils too, so you sit and watch your neighbor's grain pop out of the ground and wait for yours to come around. But it catches up, but it is slower to come out of the ground. So 2017, this was an experiment. This was a huge experiment. That's not good. So I'd never grown corn. There's not much corn grown in Grace at all, like silage, any type, grain corn. There's no grain corn grown. So I talked to one of the guys from the south end of the valley to come up with his corn planter. And no-till me. It was pretty quick. It's quite shocking. This is a alfalfa grass field. We spring grazed it, greened it back up, burned it down with Roundup. Come in with the no planted into that. It's not shown. It's just 20 seconds. So did the video show? Just the sound? Okay. Well, that's okay. I broke it. Just advance the slideshow. How many of your cattle guys? You have Winter pastures, probably, I suppose.
When it rains,
When it rains? So what did you do this winter?
I have money that rained on his place,
Oh,
and we're feeding a bunch.
you're feeding some $200 hay?
They're
220? The winter pasture would be a really nice thing, nice problem to have. So. That's very simple. It doesn't like the grass.
While he's looking that up, when you went for your old drill, I'm assuming did your drill spacing change your tonnage at all?
Both 7.5s.
Oh, well,
Yeah, they're the same. It's not updating what's on the screen. The
I admitted to go about first crop and an old stand of alfalfa and then drill cover crops into that. Maybe tell us a little bit about how you do that.
So when we mowed the hay, baled it, watered it to green it back up, and then just direct seeded right into it, sprayed it 2 days later. And then never missed a beat on that crop. So that fall we had cover crop, next spring we planted grain hay.
And you graze that cover crop
Yeah.
through the winter.
Yeah, we grazed that through the winter.
Okay, so you didn't harvest any other, mechanically harvest any other crop that year, just that first cut?
Just, yeah, right.
Okay. So you did green it back up, plant the cover crops, but then kill it.
Yeah. Because the growing window, like, I don't like to wait for, I don't want to wait as long as I should for stuff to grow back up to kill it. The alternative, and it's labeled to spray full-grown alfalfa crop and then harvest it. If you, depends on your Roundup stance whether you want to do that or not. I know lots of guys do it and kill it that way. So when our hay stands run out, we'll get a lot of quackgrass in them. And first cutting of quackgrass is a really nice crop, actually. But second crop, there ain't nothing there, so it's a good way to take an alfalfa stand out. You'll clean the quackgrass up; it doesn't compete, and then the next year you're pretty clean. So same way on the alfalfa in the spring, we grazed this early, greened it up, sprayed it, planted corn. No-tilled corn, and corn is not a standard thing we'll see at all. And no-till, nobody's no-tilling anything. No-till's not in my world at all. So this was a shocking experience. So you can see how much soil disturbance we got. We also have lots of rocks, shallow soils. So tillage, then you get to haul the rocks. So I'm not familiar with corn. Since we got the Bear River Co-op guys here, does that corn look okay? Color look all right? Still green. So it's not going to finish the cob. It's not bred to finish a cob. I was pretty tickled with it. I put 100 units of Anon and 35 of Phos. Cost me $82 in fertilizer. There's a pivot. You can see truss rods. Top right pictures standing on the top of the tower. So I was pretty tickled with what corn did. Had every intention of putting cover crop in under this, but the way it canopied, there's no way anything would have competed on 22.5-inch rows. So one thing I look at manure quite a bit. You can tell feed quality if they're getting what they need. That's kind of what I look at to judge quality. So here was our plan for using the corn. We're going to do three-day usage. You listen to Jim Garish, any of them talk. The rumen will stay functioning for 3 days, and then you could not change how the rumen's functioning as long as you're on a 3-day cycle. Because day one they're getting all the good stuff. By day 3 they're eating some pretty crappy stuff. Rather than giving them the whole field, they'll walk through, eat all the ears off, and then they get stock steep for a month. So this is the plan on how we graze it. 3 days. I had about 300 head in there. We have been feeding, we always are feeding a little protein with it, or alfalfa or pea hay or something for a protein source. So this is my cost on doing the corn. This is 2017. So it cost me about $400 an acre with irrigation. We clipped and weighed that 27 ton at 18% moisture. Oven dried, it dried down to 4.5 ton. Air dried, like when we grazed it, we figured it was about 5.6 ton to the acre air dried material. The way we used it, we got 60% utilization. Like Jimmy talked about, the livestock are going to return the nutrients back. They're only taking 10 to 15% of the nutrients out of that crop. So forage analysis, protein, dry matter was 5.3, or as sample was 5.3, dry matter was 12.1 protein. That's, the picture's 305 head in 3 acres. Right after we turn them in, you lose them.
So you didn't tell them that this only works when the cows with the electric fence and they get out.
Yeah, we've gotten better about fencing. We had a lot of trouble grounding the fence, keeping it hot enough.
Did you have to mash a road down to put your fence?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we had a Japanese mini truck, and we were driving those rows, and it was like going through the jungle, the African jungle. It had corn stalks slapping. That was the first couple of years. When you hit a pivot track going like that, booking through there, it's quite exciting to hit your head on the roof. So, I haven't done it for a year. Used GPS on the tractor loader and just put the loader down and went across to the last year and used GPS and got really straight rows that way. So, that moving the fence is a little time consuming. Frozen ground can be a challenge on posts. And then I got one red cow that you can't keep her in. So, it's an actual grazing corn. It's from Baldridge Hybrids. It's called Amazing Graze. They advertise it as a 105-day corn. And I can't tell you the price of it. I think it's about 40,000 seed population. But I've been really tickled with that variety. So in 18, I bought a drill finally. Bought a John Deere. So who can tell me what that picture on the right-hand side is? It's a tire track. What's in it? Those are worm castings. So that's the worm outhouse there. I can't remember what I was doing, but I walked out and saw that and thought it was pretty crazy to see that much worm action in one of my soils. So this is planting corn in 18. I did this with my box drill. Seeded at 15. I closed every other opener and seeded at 32,000 seed population. Seeded and then burned it down. It wasn't perfect, pretty picket row corn. It didn't feed perfect, but didn't have to get a corn planter. So if you want your corn to look really good, you put a short fat guy in it. So Marlon Winger has been around. He came out to look at it. So I still got 6.6 ton. You can see I didn't get the good kill on the alfalfa and some of it. So same thing. We got 240 head days per acre in 2018. So what is a winter feeding day worth this year? What's it costing you a day to feed $250 a ton of hay? So $4 a day, $5 a day. So 4 times 240, how much is it? $1,000. Can I make $1,000 an acre doing many other things? I can't. So this is a video of drilling through corn, but I'm not going to play the video because it would mess up the slideshow. So this is a year out of corn. It shows cutting through the stalks. So I planted full season cover crop after my corn with the intention of grazing it.
So his dad gave him a hard time. He kept saying, oh, what are we gonna do with all the stalks? How's this gonna work? Yep.
So I did play the video. So this is the mix we planted, full season cover, with the intention of grazing it. I wasn't gonna windrow it, but the way it worked out, we windrowed it. $25 an acre, 1.2 million seeds. When I plant a cover crop, I'm looking for like 1.2 million to 1.5 million seeds per acre. Depend on the species, and I don't want more than 2 pounds of brassicas because it makes it too washy. That's kind of my rule of thumb in everything I planted. So $25 an acre, 33 pounds. That we yielded 6.1 tons to the acre. No, I don't think we put any fertilizer on that either. So I got 231 head days per acre for $25 a seed. So the cows we were gonna strip graze it, but taking string through sunflower heads is not fun. Because the heads all tip over and you can't just drag over the top of it. So a day or two of that and decided that was a bad idea. So I mowed it, swathed it, windrowed it. I wished I'd have known what I know now. Jim Garish says to rake those at 50 to 60% moisture, and then they'll kind of rope them together and build you a better windrow. Use a ground-driven rake. That way your windrow is set up, when it dries out it won't blow because it's kind of tied together. I would be really worried about it molding, but at that high of moisture raking it, but it would stand up better in the snow. So going forward, that's probably something that I'm gonna do. So these cows we were moving every day. This is just after we moved the string. Even though I mowed it, I get really good ground cover yet. Cows look okay. Shiny. Fat. Too fat. There's something about them competing that they'll clean it up better too. That's my daughter's Hereford cow. We have 2 of those. So I talked a little about Faba beans. This plant just really has my curiosity sparked mostly. It grows upright, stands up good. It's indeterminate, so it'll just keep setting seed pods as it grows. It's a heavy nitrogen fixer. What I was trying to do is see if it keep protein going into winter, use it as a protein source in the winter. But it's just really interesting to watch it grow. So we grew those alongside the corn. I think I took the pictures out of grazing them. So there you can see the roots. The soil's black, still making nodules. It's a really interesting plant. I would use it in a mix with something. I think it would compete for height, like the silage corn. I think that would be a really nice fit with silage corn. I don't know that, but that's something I would play with if I was growing silage corn, just to try it. Either that or peas or both of them. So those Faba beans, we let them go till fall and then grazed them in the winter. They turned black as sin, but the cows ate them pretty decent. So I don't know. I don't know a lot about them. So my questions: how do you get an alfalfa field smooth again? Like, I'm one of the very few guys growing forage crops or alfalfa, so I get everybody's gophers, mice, whatever. I don't want to till. I don't want to destroy the soil habitat I've created. How do I get that smooth again?
That's the same question I've heard from you for
Yeah. I don't have an answer. That's one I've struggled with. Gabe Brown, I had one of my friends ask Gabe Brown how to do it, and he said to just set your disc right at surface level to take the mounds down. But my disc's in two pieces, so I'm probably not going to fix it. So that's one thing I've struggled with, is how to get smooth again. Then the other thing is pivot tracks. Like Dwayne Beck and all those guys talk about pivot tracks disappear. My pivot tracks haven't disappeared. I'm also running wipers, so they're walking back on wet ground. So if anybody's got an answer for pivot tracks, I'd love to hear it. You'd like to have that problem? It comes with its set of problems. So a couple more pictures. No-till and alfalfa. If you're going to start into no-till, it comes with a set of problems with soils. My feeling is either no-till corn into alfalfa stubble, because alfalfa's kind of fixed your soil problem, or go with a winter cereal. Winter frost freeze cycle's breaking up some hard pans that is a good place to start, in my opinion. So these are all the cover crop species I've tried. I'm always growing spring peas, berseem clover we talked about, Italian rye grass. Or the rye grasses, I don't know that I would grow them if you're in a really wheat-dominated crop cycle. I haven't had any trouble with them. Same thing with hairy vetch. If you're in a wheat cycle, I'd be a little careful with hairy vetch. But supposedly those species can get weedy. I have not had any trouble with any of them being weedy. Gabe Brown says, I didn't pick your wife, so I'm not going to pick your cover crops. So every year I generally am trying something different, a little different, trying to dial it into what I want. So anybody have any questions on any of those species?
Is there kind of a rule of thumb how many of each type you do?
Typically you want at least some from every category. And then I would look at, for me, it's temperature dependent. If I'm much past the 10th of July, I am not putting warm season in at all. And I don't put very many warm seasons in anything because I can't get them to go. I don't go more than a third or more than 2 pounds of brassicas. Like, you can have a beautiful crop, but it's so washy, it's just going to blow through a cow. It's kind of my general rule of thumb. No, we did that right. Right. The 1st of June's when we planted it. Tried to get after the last frost. So Phacelia makes phosphorus plant available. Also a good pollinator if you're bee or honey production. It's a really interesting plant to grow. I really like forage collards. I try not to plant anything with a bulb on it. I don't want to risk the chance of choking something. Not that I've had it happen, and everybody I talk to says it won't happen, but the day you kill a cow with this, somebody's going to frown on what you're doing. Or the day you got to go punch them out. So, red clover, I think, as a species, we're far underutilizing in the hay country. As far as a legume you can add to a grass pasture or a grass hay, red clover is a good species. They will really compete well. So, let's see. Real quick through these slides. This is something I really like. It's hanging on my desk. This is Gabe Brown's enterprise model. So this is every way he can make money off his operation. And it all starts with carbon. So one day I took my kids and I said, we're going to build our enterprise model. So cows are our basis. That's where we start. So then we have an old ranch house that my grandparents, so we made that an Airbnb. That's one of the first things we started. I am dumbfounded with the number of people that come to that Airbnb. It's in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing for an attraction, but it is full. Then I cut tires for water troughs. My one son raised pigs. My one daughter wanted to raise colts. So we tried to look at every way we could make money on our operation. Couple of missed opportunities. This last year, a year ago this fall, we had some alfalfa we took out, planted winter triticale. When we were moving the hand line across this, every step you took, the worms would scatter. I'd never seen anything like it. It just blew my... It's like, what's going on here? You walk out through there at night moving hand line and the worms were just thick. So the soil was functioning. We harvested the trit. We knew we were going to be short irrigation water, so what did I do? I had my cover crop seed bought. It's probably the only year I've ever planned ahead. Had my cover crop seed bought to plant like the 20th of June. But I know I'm going to run out of irrigation water, so what did I do? Planted it? Didn't plant it. So what happened? I got nothing. So what happened? The triticale regrew, the musk thistles grew. Apparently there's enough water to grow something. So I missed a prime opportunity. I had the seed. All I had to do was go drill it. So how do we determine our success? Do we determine it by biology? This is a pivot track. Those are the worms in my pivot track after it rains. So then some other things, like if you have ground you're reclaiming, I would start with cover crop. This is an old railroad bed we leveled to put pivot on, to walk through it. So ground that hadn't been worked, tilled, been stockpiled for 100 years. So we leveled it. Of course I had to till it. And till it again, and harrow it, and till it, and whatever. So we drilled it. Lost all status in the no-till world by creating that much dust. So this mix came from Green Cover. This is like their floor sweepings. You don't know what you're getting. It's stuff that they've mismixed or gathered up at the end of a seed lot or something. Dump it in a bag and buy it for 30 cents a pound. So I had no idea what I was getting, but it's a way to restart the soil. So it sounds like we swap sunflower. 10 minutes? Okay. So I'm just going to hit on a couple of things. Harvest efficiency. This is something as livestock producers we don't acknowledge near enough. If I take 3 ton of forage, if I cut, bale, windrow, rake, feed out on the ground again, my losses are costing me about a ton of feed. If I take 3 ton of forage and just turn my cows in it, it's costing me 2 ton that they're not consuming. If I go down to daily moves, I'm harvesting 70% of it. I'm getting 2 ton of that through the cow. If I go to twice daily moves, I'm doing better than that. We are not acknowledging that near enough. This is cost a day, cost to feed. $200 hay, 30 pounds a day is $3 a day. So then, this is with the corn. This started with the corn. I spent $82 on the fertilizer. If I grazed 60, wasted 40, of that $82, $32 of my fertilizer dollar went to organic matter. 49 of it went into the cow. 15 of it stayed in the cow. So my $82, I only removed $7 of fertilizer value. Do I think that's perfectly accurate? No. But I think the principle's right in that if we can process it through a cow, we're retaining the nutrient value of what we're putting in. So I'm going to buzz through a couple of slides. So 5-minute fallow. My growing season's so short, I don't want to give up a growing day. And this is the first year I actually got it done. We finished baling. I unhooked the baler tractor. My dad started hauling bales, and I hooked on the drill. So I was drilling as he was hauling the hay out of the way. That's my goal, is to not miss any growing degree weather. Here's my equipment pool. My sprayer cost me $300. I'm doing a better job with my $300 sprayer than the co-op was with their $300,000 sprayer. This is a few years old, so. Not that my equipment's good, but I can be there when I need it done, and I can adjust the rate. So I want suggestions of what I can do to improve. What should I be looking at?
This is a really suggestion. I just have a question. So on, like one of your first slides where you're talking about your acreage, you said you have some dryland stuff. What do you do there?
The best thing I've done, both dryland pieces are in alfalfa currently. The best thing I've done is plant fall triticale, because then I can capture the moisture and then harvest the triticale with the alfalfa. Is the best thing I've done. This last year I planted barley and peas into it and then sprayed it, and I got nothing off of it. I didn't have any moisture at all after I planted, so I got nothing. The dryland's really, really hard. Use the winter moisture, plant in the fall, and use your winter moisture. No. Just to take it out, yeah. So any other questions? I don't have anything available. Like the closest roller crimper I can get to is Twin Falls. So I have not tried anything, but I'm gonna graze it. Right. Typically I won't spray after my small grain hay to clean that ground up, because you will get some weed regrowth, but if you can be quick planting back, then I haven't had much trouble there. Yeah. Exactly. I got some they won't eat, but any other questions?
What kind of kicked you into this mentality idea? Where did you learn? I mean, obviously, a lot of trial and error, I can see. Experience.
So I work for NRCS, and that kind of started me as I'd been to enough of these meetings to not believe anything that was getting told. Because I wasn't, college agronomy, no way did they preach any of this. The one professor we had that talked about no-till, he was crazy. I'd have told you he's crazy that every day I went to school. But I don't like running tractor, and there isn't a need for it from what I've learned since. Besides the cost. We don't spend a quarter on fuel that we're spending. Besides, all our tillage equipment's old, run down, broke down stuff. I broke a disc in half, and I'm like, we got shallow rocks. Just isn't working what we were doing. It's probably what got me started. That and for to work at NRCS and to sell this, I had to believe myself. And so I put it to the test. So I'm a believer. I tease the guys who sat with at lunch. I'm like, are you guys believers or not? And so it's kind of interesting. It takes a little leap of faith. It also takes changing your mindset. maybe what I've been doing isn't right, or where can I fill that gap in my feed cycle. Go ahead.
Give us some, John, and I was wondering, but you should have a small, like, family farm kind of thing. I've seen you truck and there are all these water draining around. Would you send some chicken out there to, like, feed on that, or would that eliminate too much of the one population in the first time?
I would love to have chicken eat it.
Like, you like, two pets, whatever, or then send the chicken wild and set that up?
I would love that. I have not got to that point that I want to tend chickens. This gentleman in the hat here, I think he could answer all your questions you have about chickens.
Chickens are good behind cattle. But I think a lot of it seems like you feel like you've got space where you can
Yeah. If one of my kids wanted to take on a chicken industry, I think they could make a grundle of money. Yeah, definitely.
It's pretty good soil out there, don't you? Just the base, mineral soil is pretty good out there.
Yeah, the base soil is a fairly black volcanic soil. It's good soil, but shallow rock. We have a lot of rock, volcanic rock, surface rock. Grace, Idaho. Okay, I've spent my time. I appreciate you coming and listen.
We got about 15 minutes to figure out which one you want to go to next. See you guys around. All right, thank you. Thank you.
More than I want.